Okay, hello again. So, I just wanted to start this video by mentioning that if you're watching these videos, or if you're interested in this subject, let's say, if you're interested in awakening, liberation, so on, then I would encourage anyone who is watching to be aware, be conscious, and be vigilant. Beware of association. Be aware of associating an individual, a person, an ego, an identity with your own journey, with any so-called teachings that you come across. Don't associate the content of these videos with me as a person. Don't associate any interpretation of a teaching or that to which I'm attempting to point to with me as a person. Of course, that's identity stuff. If there's a point to this channel, to this which I'm talking about, then that association would be something like that would be antithetical or the opposite of that point. The point here is the absence of an identity. The point here is seeing through that identity stuff clearly. Because anyone who's watching this video who has an idea of me as a person, me as an individual, then that's your own fiction. My idea of myself as an individual, as a person, is my own fiction. It's a false, incomplete, inaccurate, pretend fiction. A good example of this would be I went through a phase of sending videos to my mother, Dharma talks, non-duality speakers and so on, and almost without exception she would respond with her opinion or a critique of the person giving the talk, seeming to completely miss the point, missing not just the content of the talk and concepts, but missing that those concepts are attempting to point towards something, a recognition of something non-conceptual. So these are the barriers of identity. These are some of the things that come up that make it difficult for the mind to calm down enough to be open to what I'm pointing to here. So I'm definitely not someone who is able to give a teaching to whoever's watching this video. None of that makes any sense without separation. It doesn't make sense without separation. It doesn't make sense without an assumed identity or association, a judgment, a position, a viewpoint. And that's what's so difficult about this. That's what's so difficult about what I'm trying to point to, is something that's so obvious. It's just a recognition. It's nothing conceptual. It's not even with concepts. If I was to give you an idea, a concept, then in hearing that as an individual, you would then create your own version of that concept based on the limited information that I'm giving. There would be a discrepancy there. There would be a mismatch there, just in concept. And that's barely taking into account the layers of conditioning and bias that shape those discrepancies. So you see how inaccurate the mind is at perceiving reality, and you see how effective it is at creating this fictional character, this unreal point of view, separating itself from what is an obvious recognition of this that I'm trying to point to, which is so difficult. A good example, again, is there was someone who posted a comment on my previous video. I think his name was Ben, and he posted a comment with not a description of his interpretation of the concepts, the ideas that I'm talking about in the intellectual sense, but a description of his experience of recognition of something beyond concept, something non-conceptual. I think the words he used for it was presence. That recognition of presence. Can you recognize that right now? Can it be clear that these words aren't me, a separate entity, talking to you, another separate entity, but you talking to yourself, you expressing yourself to yourself without the need for separation or identity? What is here without thought? What is here when we don't think? What is not here when we don't think? These are questions we can ask and then have the experience, our immediate experience of presence, let's say, answer this for us, but in a non-conceptual way, in a way of recognition, in a way of thinning the layers of thought, of mind, of personal identity that obscure what is obvious. What is here when we don't think about it? What are we adding to experience with thought? There's no conclusive answer to this, because a conclusion is limiting, a conclusion is grasping, a conclusion is final. But in saying that, experience answers, I'm going to continue answering the questions and expanding or moving through that exploration right now. What is not here when we don't think about it? If we're heavily identified with thought, the mind will come in straight away and it will start listing things or describing things. We're not looking to describe anything, we're just looking to recognize what's here, immediately, beyond thought, without the need for thought. Is there a self here? Is there an entity hiding somewhere here in our experience that definitely exists, that is definitely tangible? Or is that just an assumption? Because it definitely feels like there is a self here. It feels like there is a something here. It's a feeling, an assumption, more than a concrete thing, more than something tangible, just a feeling, an accumulation of assumption, repetition, a pattern, a process, a set of processes in time. Is time here when we don't think about it? When we don't think about it? Is sensation here when we don't think about it? Sensation is here. This, let's say, to put a label on it, image, this visual experience is here. These sounds are here. These feelings are here. These emotions are here. If that can become clear, that the experience exists, the experience is here, there's something, an aliveness, a beingness, an apparition here. There are thoughts here. Is there a thinker? There's an experience here. Is there one to which this experience happens to or for? Let's see if we can find it. And we can dart about. It seems like our attention is darting about, looking for it, trying to find it. But we continually come up against nothing. Even with these sensations, can we find the sensations? Can we actually find them if we don't use thought? Can we find anything if we don't use thought? Do we need to find it? Or maybe we need to look for it. But we don't need to find it. Because it's self-confirming, it's self-so, it just is. The way it is, anyway. And becoming immersed in that until there's none of you left is freedom, is liberation. Separating from it, trying to control it, trying to resist it, trying to escape from it, trying to think your way out of it, is what generates the discontentment, the suffering. When we become present, is there a need to confirm things? Is there a need to explain things, to figure things out? Can you feel yourself pulling back from experience, creating a fictional entity, creating something to figure this all out, to protect itself, to analyse, to confirm, to form a viewpoint or an opinion or a judgment about what this is in order to keep herself safe in time? Can you feel that movement happening? What is that? How is that happening? It's thoughts, but there's also an emotional pattern to it. There's an emotional pull. There's something deeper. There's something more visceral, let's say. There's something more powerful. If we want freedom, if we want liberation, it comes with a price. It does come with a price. And that price is everything. Because truly we do need to let go of absolutely everything. We have to let go of our point of views, our assumptions, our opinions, our beliefs, our hopes about the future, our worries about the past, so on and so on. Without exception, everything we have to let go of. And that's why this requires courage. That's why this requires vigilance and clear sight, to be able to see where we're holding on, what excuses that we're making, where we are allowing fear to control our perception of reality, to form an illusion. How that fundamental fear is creating these illusions to perpetuate this pretend story. And at some point it's not even clear whether this fictional self is even capable of the kind of courage it requires to walk into the unknown, to exist in and as that cosmic question mark of what the fuck, what is this? The unknown, the unknowable, that which doesn't need to be known, doesn't need to be figured out, because it just is. Something else comes in and takes over. If it were up to the illusion of the separate self, this entity, this separate character, it would go with what it knows. It would say no. It would resist, and it does. But something else comes in and pretty much just takes the choice out of it. Otherwise this awakening, this clarity, this liberation wouldn't be possible, and the illusion would just be perpetuated on and on. But it comes with a price. Where are you holding on to yourself? Where are you grasping? Where are you afraid to look? What are you afraid to let go of and feel it? What does it feel like? What is the emotion there? Why are what emotion is driving these thoughts, and what emotion are these thoughts perpetuating? Open up and zoom out and see that. See it for what it is. Anyway, that'll do for now. I'll talk to you next time.